Welcome to FLT, all things sports, and NFL season is on the way. Yeah. We are right about to start the kickoff.
Yeah, season starts this Thursday.
Yeah. So today we're gonna stick with football, and we're gonna run down our picks for Week 1. And every game we choose between me and Justin that we disagree with, it's gonna go on the board, and we're gonna take a tally for the whole year. And then we're gonna have bragging rights, and we're gonna say, "Ha ha ha!" I win.
Yeah. Each week we're gonna give you the whole schedule's picks, and then we're gonna keep a running total of wins and losses, and we'll see at the end of the year who wins.
Yeah, we're also gonna do a rundown of the New England Patriots depth chart. Every week we're gonna pick a new team and run down their depth chart, and we're also gonna give our picks for fantasy as well as the season. So this week we're doing the season. And let's run down our picks real quick.
Okay.
If you want to start off, Week 1, the first game on Thursday Night Football is the Chiefs and Texans.
I have the Chiefs.
I also have
champs.
the Chiefs. So
it's going to be a good game,
nothing fun about that. We're going to
Deshaun Watson just got extended.
Yeah.
$40 million a year over 4 years. 4 years, $160 million.
That's going to be a good game.
It's
not going to be a Chiefs guaranteed win.
No, it's not.
It is in Kansas City. They have that home field kickoff advantage.
Yeah.
But on the road, Deshaun Watson has proven himself to win a lot of games.
Honestly, I think it's going to be a tight game. The reason that I chose the Chiefs and gave the Chiefs the edge is because the Texans lost DeAndre Hopkins.
That's going to be a big hole on that offense.
I mean, Hopkins and Watson had such a good connection. I can't believe they broke that up. So that's why I gave the Chiefs the win.
Yeah, and I got the Chiefs to win just because of Mahomes. I can't see him coming out in Week 1 and losing.
Yeah,
especially at home. It's not
possible.
It's not happening. It's possible, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, they didn't give the Chiefs a cupcake. They didn't give them an easy opponent, but I still think the Chiefs will win.
Yeah.
All right. The next game on the list, I have the Eagles.
Yeah, against Washington, by the way.
Yeah, Eagles at Washington.
I also have the Eagles.
All right.
But I want to mention this about Washington. Their defense is crazy stacked. Their whole entire defensive line, all young, big first-round picks.
Yep.
And then in the second tier, in the linebacking core, they got veteran status, Ryan Kerrigan. They just got Reuben Foster from
Thomas Davis from the Panthers.
Thomas Davis in the middle, probably the oldest player in the league right now, besides Tom Brady, but still killing it. He hasn't dropped off.
Yeah.
Last year, he was still great.
Washington's defense is impressive. It's their offense that needs a lot of work.
That offense needs a lot of work.
Yeah, and they named Dwayne Haskins the starter for Week 1. I think that honestly, like throughout the course of the season, they would be much better off with Alex Smith. But who knows if he's 100% healthy? Yeah. Who knows?
They're a question mark because if the quarterback position, if like Terry McLaurin turns out to be a stud wide receiver and their second round pick running back.
Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, if he turns out to be a good they could be a good team.
Yeah. Antonio Gibson's a good running back,
but
we'll see what happens.
The Eagles are still a good team.
Yeah.
They still have most of their talent from a couple years ago, so I'm going to give them the win.
Yeah, I give the Eagles the win, but it's going to be tight because it's a divisional game. They're always close usually.
Yeah. The third game, Patriots and Dolphins, we both agree on that.
We agree. We both have the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then that brings it, and we're going to run down the Patriots going in a little bit. But that brings us to this is the game that I think is going to be one of the best games of the week.
Yeah.
Is the Vikings and Packers, this division rivalry.
Yeah. I keep going back and forth on them. That was the one game that I really got stuck on when I was trying to make my picks.
I got the Packers.
I keep going back and forth.
You got the home advantage too with Minnesota.
That was the only game that I literally didn't choose.
Do you know what? You know what I noticed about Packers? I'm a Packers fan. I watched a lot of their games, and when they play the Vikings. No matter where they are, whether they go to Minnesota or the Minnesota comes to Green Bay, you'll see a lot of the fans on both teams. They travel. They're close. Yeah. They're Midwest cities, but you'll see a lot of Minnesota fans in Green Bay. You'll see a lot of Green Bay fans in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
So
they show up for that division rivalry. So I'm gonna go against you. I'm gonna take the Vikings.
Good. I'm glad you did that because
I'm gonna take the Vikings.
That's our first game to see who wins. I got Packers.
Yep.
The next game, Jaguars and Colts, another division rivalry.
Yep. I took the Colts.
Yeah, I did too. I think Phillip Rivers is still going to be middle of the road. He used to be an elite quarterback, around 2010, but I'm going to say now he's dropping off in talent. You're starting to see it happen. But I think he's going to find a home in Indy, and I think he might come away with a winning season, maybe 9-7.
So I took the Colts as well. The reason I think the Jaguars are kind of they're planning for the future. They traded away Yannick Ngakoue. They traded away Jalen Ramsey at the end of the year last year. I mean, they're just
They had the team 2 years ago.
Yeah, they cut Leonard Fournette recently.
Yeah.
Reichwell
Yeah, they're
Armstead.
falling off.
Reichwell Armstead, who they said, okay, now that Fournette's gone, he's most likely going to be a starter. He's on the COVID list right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going to most likely be starting Chris Thompson, who's a good pass-catching back. And, that's most likely going to be the starting running back. So we agreed there. We both took the Colts. Next game, we have Bears at Lions. I took the Bears.
I did too.
I think that's going to be a good game, though.
I think this is going to be a good year for Trubisky. I think the Bears have a chance to really make some damage in that division.
They just named Trubisky the starter Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
so,
he's going to have I think he's going to have a good year.
Yeah, but I think the Lions are going to be better for sure. Stafford's going to be healthy. You got to remember last year they were playing with second and third string quarterbacks, and so I think
the Lions always had the potential.
Well, and I like how they start the year and they start the seasons and end the seasons with division rivalries now. Because you always have close games, between divisional opponents.
Set the tone and then end it off.
Yeah, and then at the end of the year, when people are fighting for playoff spots, you got divisional games as well.
So it makes it matter more.
I like the way they set up the schedule now.
Yeah.
Next game, we have my Raiders at the Panthers. I chose my Raiders.
I got to take the Raiders. The Panthers are going to have I think they're tanking this year.
Just a side note, I actually was supposed to go to that game in North Carolina. I had my tickets, the game tickets. I had my plane tickets. We had our COVID canceled it. So me and my buddy, the last 7 years straight, we've always gone to the Week 1 game, Raiders game, no matter where it was. Yeah. So New Orleans, Atlanta, New Jersey, whatever. So we were gonna keep that tradition going, and then COVID,
So far we've only disagreed on one game.
So far, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
with Bills and Jets,
I got the Buffalo Bills.
This is no fun. We're just agreeing on everything.
A lot of these games seem pretty cut.
Week 1, it always seems like everyone knows every game.
And then it doesn't end up like that.
What's going to happen is there's going to be a team, like maybe Washington, for example, or the Titans, or one of these teams that we think is not going to be good.
They're going to surprise. Yep, it always happens every year. Absolutely.
So
the next game, Browns at Ravens. We both have the Ravens. The Ravens are going to be one of the best teams in the AFC, potentially one of the best teams in the league.
They're solid all around, defense, offense. They got
and they only got better in the offseason. Yeah. I mean, I love J.K. Dobbins.
That's a Super Bowl contender.
Running back out of Ohio State, J.K. Dobbins. I thought, me personally, I had him as the number 1 running back coming into this draft. A lot of people had DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor. I actually like Dobbins out of all the running backs, and so they stole him in the second round. They didn't really need a running back. They got Mark Ingram, but he's just so good to leave sitting there, so they snagged him.
Yeah, I think the Seattle Seahawks on the road in Atlanta.
I got Seattle as well. Yep. Yep. Like I said, a lot of these ones seem straightforward, but we'll be proven wrong after week 1.
Right. So we might be right about all these, and
yeah,
we have one disagreement so far. We might be wrong about most of them. Who knows? We'll see.
Next game, Chargers at Bengals. I have the Chargers, and I think
got the Bengals.
You have the Bengals. So that's another one where we disagree.
Yeah.
Following game, we have Cardinals at 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers.
I got the 49ers as well.
That's another divisional game. I think that's going to be closer than a lot of people expect, especially because if you look at past Super Bowl losers, a lot of those teams the following year have that Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah.
So we could be wrong about that.
I just see the 49ers. You look at their team, the talent they have. I maybe a little bit of a hangover might happen, but they're just too talented to not have a good year.
Well, obviously every team that loses the Super Bowl, the previous year is going to be a good team. They made it to the Super Bowl, but you see that a lot. Teams fall off the very first year after. I don't know what it is. It's probably just the heartbreak of losing a Super Bowl, getting there.
Yeah,
walking off the field,
trying to build back up after how far you went. It's sort of like it's disheartening, like you said.
Well, yeah, and you're walking off the field, and you got all the what's it called? The stuff falling from the sky, but it's not for you. It's for the other team. You got to walk off the field with your head down, where everyone's charging the field. Families are coming on. Other teams celebrating. That's got to be tough. That's got to be one of the hardest moments in these players' lives.
No, this is another disagreement. Here we have the Bucks and Saints.
Yeah, I have the Saints.
Yep.
And Neil has the Bucks.
So that's our third head-to-head game right there.
Where we disagree. Yep.
And the next one, Rams and Cowboys. I got the Rams.
I have the Cowboys.
Okay, that's good.
So
that's
another
Another disagreement. That's 4.
We're not going to disagree on every game.
Right. I just want to make it interesting.
Yeah. So what we did is, before we started filming this, we went and we picked our games separately. I didn't want to influence his decisions. I didn't want his decisions to influence me. So that's what we're going to do every week. We're going to make our picks when we're not with each other. Then we're going to come together, and then then we'll let you guys know what we get picked.
Right.
All right. So next one,
Steelers and Giants.
We have the 2 Monday night games.
Yeah.
The week 1 always has back-to-back doubleheader on Monday night, which is awesome. The first game is Steelers at Giants. I have the Steelers. I believe you do as well.
I also have the Titans too.
And
the Titans are stacked.
Yeah.
They got a really good defense, and it seems like Tannehill really is coming out as a starting caliber quarterback that he wanted to be in Miami, and he's finally found a home in Tennessee.
I've always been a big Tannehill supporter. He was drafted. He was drafted really high. He played receiver for most of his college career.
Yeah, I remember that.
He played 1 year of quarterback.
He was an athletic quarterback.
Yeah, he played 1 year at quarterback, and he was drafted, I think, 8th overall. And really, he played well in Miami, but he had a bunch of things that were out of his control. Injuries, a bunch of stuff where he didn't play bad, but he just wasn't available. He was hurt. Or
he was always right on the edge of, is he good? Is he not?
So
they finally let him go.
When they traded him to Tennessee, it was like a 4th-round pick or something. I actually wanted the Raiders to grab him to get a quarterback to push Carr, and just to, for that kind of, 4th pick is nothing.
Yeah.
And so I was actually one of the destinations. I was hoping that my Raiders grabbed him. And
really stole him, man.
And I was watching him in Tennessee, and I was rooting for him, and he did really well for my fantasy teams last year.
And then Mariota ended up going to
Mariota went to the Raiders. Yep. So. And then, we agreed on both of the Monday night games. So we have quite a few, 4 or 5.
Let's run down our disagreements.
Okay.
Vikings and Packers.
I got the Vikings. You got the Packers.
Chargers and Bengals.
I got the Chargers. You got the Bengals.
Yep. And Saints and Bucks.
I got the Saints. You got the Bucks.
And then Cowboys and Rams.
I got the Cowboys. You got the Rams.
We'll see. It's 2 games. We can both tie and be 2-2. I almost want to throw a 5th game in there to make sure one of us wins.
We got the whole year to count, though, wins and losses. So there's going to be many.
We could end up tied after this. But we know one thing's for sure. So one of us is going to be wrong about something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we don't have identical
Either
picks.
one of us is 4-0, or we're 2-2, or 3. There's not going to be any. We both can't win both games.
Yeah. 4 out of 16 games. That's a quarter of the schedule. So that's quite a bit to disagree on. I mean, that's not it's not a crazy amount to disagree on, but it's not nothing either.
Every other game is going to be a plus or minus to both of us.
For both of us.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be cool. I've never done this I usually in my head, I always go through the schedule and I pick who I'm going to have win, but I've never actually.
But there's always upsets.
I've never wrote it down.
There's always last second.
And I've never tracked it for the whole year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be super interesting.
There's always last second field goal kicks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Upsets.
Yeah.
Big injuries that happen in the first quarter that ruin the team.
Yep.
So
there's always teams that are not good the previous year that come out of nowhere, and then there's always teams that are great the previous year that fall off. That's why you have so many new playoff teams that didn't make the playoffs the previous year, or teams that did and then don't make it the following year.
And then sometimes the most obvious picks turn out to be the ones you lose on.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
The best team in the league versus the worst team in the league.
That's what makes the NFL so great.
Right.
Is that
Any
the parity?
given Sunday.
Yeah, it's the parity. Any given Sunday, you constantly have. You don't have every single year the same teams make the playoffs and the same teams are awful. You really do. I think it has the most parity and the most fluctuation because every single team is super talented.
Yeah.
If you're in the NFL, you're talented. Every single team is super talented. So what separates a good team from a great team or a great team from a bad team is actually a very minute amount. So like I said, we'll let you guys know our totals, like the running total for the year, and then every single week we'll make our picks for that upcoming week.
Yep.
So you want to dive into the Patriots now?
Yeah, we got the Patriots roster.
Yeah.
They lost Brady, but they signed Cam Newton.
Yeah, and Cam was named the starter this week, which I think most people assumed he would be.
Yeah.
They were trying to keep it a secret, the
That's
Patriots.
what they do, yeah.
But I don't think anybody bought. Once they brought in Cam Newton, nobody bought that Stidham was going to be the starter or Hoyer.
That's what happens a lot of in this time of the year. You see a lot of misdirection.
Yeah.
They don't want teams to start game planning on
of course.
what they think's going to happen.
But that's one of those ones where it's like, look, once you brought Cam in.
You brought Cam Newton, the first overall pick. You know what I mean?
The only way Cam wasn't starting was if he wasn't healthy.
Right.
If he was healthy, healthy, he was going to start. Right. And so
Brian Hoyer is not going to start over Cam Newton.
No, neither is Stidham. So apparently Jarrett Stidham doesn't look very good in camp. He doesn't look
listed as a second right now.
Yeah, he doesn't look very good though from all the reports I've been reading, the scouts that are attending practices.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. So they lost Brady, but they brought in Cam Newton. That could be an upgrade.
Yeah.
Brady wasn't bad last year, but he wasn't incredible either.
Yeah.
So it's going to be definitely be an upgrade there.
So now that Cam Newton, a mobile quarterback, physical quarterback, the complete opposite of Tom Brady.
Yeah, you couldn't get
He's got
more.
A strong, powerful arm. Brady was more of a short pass guy. But that changes the dynamic of this offense. I wonder how it's going to look. But let's start. So with that being said, the offensive line is going to have a different role now. And they drafted first round in 2018. Isaiah Wynn fit right in the left tackle. He's been a solid starter. Outside of that, though, they got Shaq Mason in the guard. He's a solid starter. Joe Tooney's been a solid starter, third round pick 2016. And then you're looking at David Andrews at center, Jermaine Alamonio from Baltimore. And then outside of that, I don't know. I think they're weak right now in offensive line. It looks weak to me.
We'll see I don't think they're going to be a bad offensive line. It's just going to be, are they going to be middle of the road or are they going to be good? Isaiah Wynn was hurt. I don't know if you remember his rookie year, he was hurt.
Yeah.
And so they got him at left tackle. So let's see if he pans out.
Right.
That's going to be a big question mark. I think if I had to guess, I would say they're probably going to be more middle of the road.
Yeah.
But because Cam is mobile, he can really cover up for a lot of their deficiencies.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of read option.
They're going to know how to use Cam.
They're going to know how to use Cam.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to know how to use Cam. It's going to be him and Sony Mike, Michelle, and James White, Rex Burkhead. They got a plethora of running backs to do read options with.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see. Is there going to be a triple option? Maybe with the handoff to Michelle and then the triple option with White. That'd be kind of fun to watch.
So the Patriots always have a platoon of running backs.
Yeah.
That's why their running backs are usually so bad for fantasy because you never know what week. One week it's going to be all Burkhead. Then the next week Burkhead will disappear completely and you'll have Sony Michelle.
And
then the next week you'll have White.
White is the only one who's consistent in fantasy.
Yeah, he's consistently average.
He'll never get you huge. Once in a while he'll have a huge game. But most of the time, he's around 15 points a week.
Yeah, he's one of those guys
he's getting you double-digit points every week.
Yeah, he usually gets you 10 to 15 points a week.
Yeah, he's a great flex because you know what you're going to get.
Exactly. But you're never going to, once in a while, you'll get a great game out of him, but usually you're just going to get that 10, 12.
Yeah, you know he's going to get you that. You know he's going to get you
especially on like a bye week or something if you just need like a consistent, I don't want to get a 0. Yeah, I want to get a 10 to 15. He's great.
He might be the safest play in fantasy.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, though. He was so great with Brady. Will he continue with Cam? He certainly could be. He's talented. Yeah. I think he's a great, pass catching back. So we'll see how they use him. I mean, you might not see as many dump offs now because you might see a lot more read option or running with Cam.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see. They're going to know how to use the read option to help the offensive line. They're going to know how to roll out the pocket to help the offensive line.
Yeah.
So I mean, before with Brady, if the offensive line wasn't perfect, he was going to get sacked.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot more leeway there.
Yeah. So at tight end. They picked 2 players in the third round, Dalton Keene and Devin Asiasi. How do you say that? Asiasi? Devin Asiasi. I can't say his name right.
Yeah, Devin A.
Hold on, let me start that over. At tight end, they took 2 players in the third round, Dalton Keene and Devin Asiasi. And I don't know, are they both going to, is it going to be, it could be both of them maybe, or it could be one, I don't know. I'm not really sure.
The Patriots over the years, if you look, whenever they have a position they want to target, a lot of times they take 2.
Yes.
Like when they took Gronk and Aaron Hernandez in the same draft, and they've done that plenty of times, which is smart. Because if you've got a position you want to address, and you get 2 of them, that's twice as many chances to hit.
You're 100% right. And right now, the scouting report on practice is looking like they're both practicing with the ones. So this is a total question mark. 2 players drafted in the same round at the same position, and they're both getting the same amount of touches in practice.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Which looks good for the Patriots. Looks really bad for fantasy. So stay away from the Patriots tight ends.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Especially until we get some more clarity.
So the last thing we have to talk about on offense is the wide receiving core. I think they have a really weak wide receiving core.
I agree.
Outside of Edelman, who's up there in age, a 2009 7th round pick, who's been amazing, by the way. But he's getting up there in age. Outside of him, you got young N'Keal Harry, last year's first-round pick. Outside of that, we're talking about Matthew Slater, who's a special teams player.
Yeah, he's
Slater's
a Pro Bowl special teams player, but not a great wide receiver.
Not a great wide receiver.
So you have Edelman, who is a good wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, but we'll see how he does without Brady. We've never seen Edelman without Brady.
Demir Bird is their slot guy, I guess. I don't even know.
They got one solid receiver in Edelman who's getting older. They got one high upside, high pick in N'Keal Harry, and other than that, it's just a bunch of guys. Yeah.
Bird he made a couple good plays in Arizona, but he never was solid.
Yeah,
he never was like a starter. Like you're looking at him every week.
That's definitely the weak point on their offense. Yeah, probably the weakest point on their entire team.
Yeah.
So we'll jump.
It is actually.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we'll jump over to the defense now.
Start on the line.
Yeah, I always like to start on the lines.
Yeah,
that's where the games are won and lost, in my opinion. Offensive line and defensive line in the trenches.
So Guy Lawrence.
He came over from Baltimore.
Yeah. Lawrence Guy. He's you know what you're getting out of him. He's a solid starter.
Yeah, he's not like an amazing guy. He's going to be a solid.
He'll do his job. He'll be good for a Brady.
He'll be a good role player.
Belichick team.
Yep, he'll do. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Beau Allen, tackle, big player. Adam Butler at the other end. It's a 3-4 look.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, outside of that, the linebacking core looks average. Let's get into that though. So Dante Hightower opts out, right?
Yeah.
Who else opted out?
So I mentioned it in a previous episode. No team got impacted and hurt more from COVID and the opt-outs than the Patriots.
Yeah.
You had 3 high-quality starters you had Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, and then guard Marcus Cannon.
We forgot about Marcus Cannon. Yeah,
Marcus Cannon. So you had 3 really good starters that opted out, and then you had some other guys who were more role players. You had Brandon Bolden, running back.
Yeah, but not that they needed him.
No, Matt Lacoste, Marquise Lee, who he could have been a good wide receiver for them.
Yeah,
he was
he's
super
a solid
talented.
number 3.
Coming out of college,
he's a solid number 3.
Coming out of USC, he was super talented. He struggled with injuries and stuff, but he actually showed out when he was healthy for the Jags.
He'd be a good depth player.
So he would have been But
Marcus Cannon, I forgot to mention that at the offensive line.
That really hurts their offensive line.
That makes their offensive line look a little weaker.
Absolutely.
But Dante Hightower,
that's the biggest one.
Every year he's been a solid starter.
Yeah.
You knew what you're going to get out of him. You knew he's getting 100 tackles every year.
Yep.
And Patrick Chung at safety.
Yep.
That's a hole.
Those are two
holes in that defense.
2 huge holes that they're not going to be able to fill in free agency.
Yeah, because
not only were those guys, Dante Hightower, in my opinion, is a top 10 linebacker. Patrick Chung is a solid, safety. But the leadership, they're losing that as well.
Well, check this out, right? So they drafted Josh Uche.
Yep.
As to be the other linebacker next to Hightower in the middle, but now they got to throw Juwan Bentley, a 5th-round pick, as the starting middle linebacker to fill in the role of Dante Hightower.
That's honestly, in my opinion, that is the biggest hole on the team is Dante Hightower.
Their linebacking core looks pretty weak altogether.
Because Hightower can do it all.
Chase Winovich is their outside linebacker, and John Simon, undrafted outside linebacker. They're weak at linebacker.
Yeah, especially with Hightower, they would have been okay.
Huge hole.
He's a guy who's going to get you 100 tackles a year. He's going to get you 5 or so sacks a year. He can cover. I mean, he can really do it all. So that's definitely a big hole that they're going to be hurting with that.
Yeah.
So
that definitely looks like their weak spot is our linebackers. But they're definitely the strength for sure.
Yeah, they're secondary. Their secondary.
Stephon Gilmore was an All-Pro. Yeah. Jason McCourty, one of the brothers, he's been phenomenal for that team.
Stephon Gilmore was Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's elite. He's a shutdown corner.
He might be the best corner in the league.
Yeah, I would say he is
top 3 for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Devin McCourty and Jason McCourty, the 2 brothers, safety and corner, they bring in a presence on that defense. It's actually cool to watch 2 brothers start like that. Terrence Brooks from the Jets is a pretty good player.
So that secondary is definitely the strength of their team.
For sure.
But you also see that big hole there. That should be at safety.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Terrence Brooks.
Should be Patrick Chung.
Terrence Brooks from the Jets is filling in for Patrick Chung.
Yep.
You're right. That's going to be a question right there.
That's still their strength, the secondary.
Because normally you're looking at McCourty and Chung back there
Exactly.
as a duo.
And then you're looking at other McCourty and Gilmore as your corners.
Solid backfield.
So that's the one hole in that secondary now, and it was caused by the opt-outs because of COVID.
Yeah.
So they really, like most teams had a couple opt-outs, and they were like fringe guys that most likely would have got cut, or maybe they would have hung on to the edge of the roster, but wasn't a big deal. This is the only team that I saw that really got impacted with multiple, high-end starters. 3, Marcus Cannon's a great guard. Patrick Chung's a great veteran safety. Dante Hightower's a great linebacker. And you're also losing all that leadership. Those guys were leaders, especially Hightower and Chung. Yeah. They were the leaders of the defense. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. But you can never count out Bill Belichick.
That's what I was just going to say.
Never. He's such a genius.
Especially on the defensive side.
That's his side.
I mean, look, go back to the 80s.
With the Giants?
From 85 to 1990 when they beat the Bills in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was the defensive coordinator of that team.
He's the reason why the
Bill
Giants
Parcells
beat the Bills in the Super Bowl.
Bill Parcells was the greatest coach back then, and out of that system, you got the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick.
Yep.
He's a defensive mastermind.
That coaching tree.
That's why I'm not too
incredible.
worried about the offense. But even his presence as a coach and what he did with Brady and the offense, I'm not too worried about how he's going to make Cam Newton, or if he's going to turn him into the number one starter that we thought he was going to be out of Auburn.
Don't get me wrong. He's a coach where he makes both sides of the ball better.
Yeah.
There's some head coach that literally they focus on one side of the ball and they ignore the other side and they let that coordinator run that side of the ball. He's not like that.
No.
He's involved in the whole team.
Yeah.
Offense, defense, special teams.
Yeah.
He's included in all of it.
Yeah.
And so
even though
he
he's a
makes
defensive
all of them
mastermind,
better.
he's a coach. He's a head coach.
Exactly.
He does his job.
He makes the whole team better.
That team's going to win 10 games.
But like you said, he makes the whole team better, but he is a defensive mastermind.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put him up against any coach in NFL history, and you could argue that he's the best coach.
Yeah.
He's the best
He's
coach.
also a
ever.
good scout.
Yeah.
He also knows where
he's-
to find certain like Terrence Brooks from the Jets filling in. He might turn him in. Patrick Chung came from the Eagles, right? Patrick Chung played for the Eagles before the Patriots. He was okay. But as soon as he got to the Patriots, all of a sudden he was the starting caliber safety.
Belichick is the head coach and the GM. I mean, he's the one that makes the final decision when they're drafting.
So there's a chance that Terrence Brooks might be the next Patrick Chung. You never know.
That's another thing. Belichick, he's a great scout, especially, though, teams that are inside the Patriots division. So I remember when Stephon Gilmore was hitting free agency, and I told every Bills fan that would listen, this is a big mistake. They should be keeping him. Oh, no, he's not that good. He gets burned, blah, 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 blah. We'll be okay without him. And I'm like, look, he is a great corner. I'm not every corner gets burned once in a while, but then he'll turn around and intercept the ball. Like he'll get burned once, and then literally the next play will be a pick six, or he'll intercept the ball and get the ball back.
Right.
So sure enough, he hits free agency. And you see Belichick, who very rarely spends big money in free agency, immediately swooped in on him.
Right. Well, that happened.
He always snags players. If you want to go back to Wes Welker, he stole Wes Welker from the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good at scouting in general, but especially teams that are in his division because he gets to see him twice a year, every single year. So, like you said, he took Terrence Brooks from the Jets.
Yeah.
And so
he took Patrick Chung from the Eagles, and he was almost, I want to say a no name, but he was like a second tier.
He made his
He
name
made him into
with
like
the
a
Patriots.
real player.
Yeah.
And I think you might see that with Lawrence Guy too, from Baltimore. I think he might turn, like, that's what he does. He turns players into studs.
Dude, Wes Welker was like a special teamer at best with the Dolphins, and then he turned him into, Wes Welker is what really changed the game, where slot receiver became like an actual position that was coveted and that was super important. Before then, slot receivers we just throw a guy in the slot.
Well, also slot receiver used to be big bodied, players who can take hits, and then he broke
the mold.
Morph them into like this speedy little short guys.
Yeah, these shifty, elusive, great route runners.
Like, almost
were
like
small.
running backs at receiver.
Yeah,
that's what he did.
So Wes Welker really changed the game when it came to slot receivers. He really did break the mold.
Andre Reed used to be a slot receiver, and he was like the old style prototype, the big. I can take a hit. I can go across the middle type of slot receiver.
Yeah, and you still see that sometimes where they'll take a big guy and put him in the slot.
Yeah.
Sometimes even a tight end, like a talented tight end, to get the mismatches. But for the most part now, you do see these smaller, shiftier, elusive,
like
fast,
said,
good route
Wes
runners.
Welker was
Wes Welker was
the
first one that broke the mold. Then you had Julian Edelman now in New England, and you have Cooper Kupp with the
Beasley
Rams
with the Bills.
and Cole Beasley, and you see these guys now. That became the norm, and it's now considered a starting position a lot of times on the offense.
Yes.
You do see a lot of 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams, that is kind of the norm for starting now.
It used to be a fullback. Now you're seeing single back, the tight end, slot receiver, and then 2 flankers.
Yeah.
But it used to be before. It used to be have the I formation.
Yep.
And there'd be a fullback. The fullback position is almost extinct now. There's only a few teams that still really use them.
It got to the point where you only had a couple fullbacks. It's actually coming back the other way now, because what happened is the game shifted because they stopped using fullbacks. Teams started using smaller linebackers.
Yeah.
Now that the teams all have mostly smaller linebackers, these coaches are going back the other way now,
and you're seeing,
taking advantage of it.
And you're seeing teams like the Panthers, not this year, but when they had Cam Newton, when they run the triple options, they throw a fullback in there.
Yep.
And like you see Mike Tolbert was a good, like players like that. You see different roles like that, but not as much as it used to be.
No.
It used to be
every team used to have a fullback,
starting fullback.
Yep, and it went to almost literally extinction, and now it's coming back the other way. And that's how the NFL goes. When defenses shift to cover this, then eventually, once everybody goes to smaller linebackers, they're going to bring the fullback back, the offenses, to take advantage of those smaller linebackers.
Right.
Then they'll compensate and go back to bigger linebackers.
Or you'll see like a Delaney Walker type. He'll get in the backfield. He's a tight end, but he's essentially playing a fullback role as a tight end.
Well, the teams,
sometimes you see that too.
The teams that don't have a designated fullback now, they carry more tight ends, and they use a tight end as an H-back.
Right.
That's what they call it, H-back now.
Yeah.
So, and that works as well. It just depends on the preference of the offensive coordinator, the coach. Do we want to save a roster spot for specifically a fullback? If so, do we want just a guy who's a great blocker, or do we want a guy who can do it all? Because you have different fullbacks as well. You have guys that are just a hammer and all they do is block and do short yardage runs, but they're useless in the passing game. Then you got these other guys that are more versatile, where you can use them. They can block, they can run, and they can catch passes.
Yeah.
So
actually, Rex Burkhardt used to have that fullback listed on his name. Now it's just there's not even one fullback on the roster anymore. He's just listed as a halfback now.
Yep. Yeah, so exactly. Burkhead kind of shifted. I'm pretty sure I remember they had a bunch of injuries one game, and Burkhead had to be the running back, and he excelled at it.
And he came
and
out,
ever since then, he kind of been morphing from a fullback to a running back. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. And then lastly, we have special teams.
Oh yeah.
You have at punter, Jake Bailey. At kicker, you have Nick Folk, and then long snapper Joe Cardona, and what's interesting is, and then you have Matthew Slater obviously as your kick returner,
and the gunner.
He is.
He's like the Steve Tasker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Matthew Slater is an elite special teams player.
He's like what Steve Tasker used to be for the Bills.
He's like one of the best special teamers.
He's a great tackler, great gunner, and he can also return kicks too.
He does both. And so the only real big change there is at kicker. They had Nick Gostkowski for years.
Yeah.
He's gone. You know actually who just signed him the other day? The Titans.
Okay.
So that's going to be the one thing. And if you look, Nick Folk came from
There's
the
a lot
Jets.
of ex-Patriots going to the Titans.
Well, look who's there.
They have their old corners. Both of their old corners were there. And their coach, Vrabel.
He's their head coach. He came from He came from New England.
He
played from that coaching team.
He won a Super Bowl with Brady. How weird is that?
So he played for the Patriots. Then he coached for the Patriots.
Right.
And now of course you're going to see that.
So now he's taking all their personnel, bringing it over here.
Yep. Because he knows the guys, really well.
But
so he knows what they're good at.
Isn't that funny to see the Bill Parcells brand?
Oh, the coaching tree is incredible.
So many.
Yeah.
So many coaches from Bill Belichick or Tom Coughlin, who was in the Giants too. They're all coaches now. Coordinators and coaches.
If I had to pick the greatest coaching tree ever, I would say it's the Parcells coaching tree.
Yeah,
because that's where Belichick is.
All day. Yeah.
You do have some of the older from the dynasties.
Even Tom Coughlin won 2 Super Bowls from that branch.
You do have some other strong coaching trees from like the 70s and 80s dynasties.
Yeah.
But I would pick Parcells.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of Belichick. Because in my opinion, Belichick is the greatest coach ever.
Yeah.
So of course, the coaching tree he's in is most likely going to be one of the better ones. And then you look, oh wow, he came from Parcells. He's a legend too.
Leslie Frazier played for the 75, 76 Steelers. He was part of that steel curtain defense. So was what's his name from the Panthers, Rivera.
Ron Rivera.
They both played out. They both were part of that steel curtain defense. And like you said, from the 70s, there was a lot of. You'll see that. You'll see with a great team that's like winning multiple Super Bowls. The 70s Steelers. Now all of a sudden you see a bunch of coaches from that team.
Yep.
The Patriots. Now you're seeing the league turn into a bunch of Patriots coaches.
Yeah.
That's what happens with great teams like that.
It's interesting with head coaches because you have obviously the former players that become coaches.
Yeah.
But then you have the guys who have always just been coaches and they coach their rank through and they've never been a player.
Yeah.
It's a good mixture of both.
Yeah, it's a good mixture of both. But it also makes sense from the player standpoint that they always come from teams that tasted winning.
Oh, of course.
They always are from the
they know
cream
how
of
to
the
win.
crop winning teams.
They know how to prepare like winners. They know how to play like winners. They know how to.
Jason Garrett. I know he's no longer the coach of the Cowboys, but he was the backup quarterback for the Cowboys when they won their
the Aikman dynasty.
When they won their 2 rings.
Yep.
Well, 3 actually.
With Emmitt Smith and Aikman.
With Aikman, and he was the backup quarterback for Aikman. He hardly ever played, but he had that clipboard in his hand, and he was a coach basically as a player coach.
Yep.
And then he became the Cowboys coach. So you see that a lot with great teams. Like that was a team that won 3 Super Bowls.
Yep.
So there you
Absolutely.
go. Prime example.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It does make sense.
Do you want to hire a coach that's been a loser all his life as a player, or do you want to hire a coach that knows how to win?
Right.
Knows how to prepare to win.
Right.
Knows how to, where a moment's not going to be too big for them.
What's his name? The backup quarterback for the Bills in the 90s. Frank Reich.
Yeah, Frank Reich.
Great coach.
He's a good coach.
He tasted a lot of winning.
He's the
great
Colts
coach.
head coach.
Right.
Yeah, the Colts.
So you see that a lot.
And if you remember, Frank Reich was with Phillip Rivers at the Chargers.
Yes.
And now they're back together for the Indianapolis
that's
Colts.
interesting to watch, yeah.
So that's they work well together.
Yeah.
So as long as Rivers just isn't too old and over the hill, I think he's actually going to play well for Reich.
Do you know he still has the greatest comeback of all time under his belt, Frank Reich? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Oh, yeah. Fun fact. Frank Reich has 2 records under his belt. Greatest comeback of all time in college, greatest comeback of all time in the NFL.
Wow.
Both by Frank Reich.
Yeah.
It's one of the craziest things you'll ever hear.
I knew about the NFL. I didn't know about the college though.
Too.
I didn't know that.
That's just his thing.
He's
he's the comeback guy. Well,
yeah.
But not all the time, just as a backup.
He's the comeback kid, yeah.
And then I remember when the Panthers were in the 1996, the Panthers were the expansion team. They went right for the Bills. The Bills were the hottest team in the 90s. They took all the excess players from the Bills. They took Frank Reich as a quarterback. I think it was Steve Tasker. I could be wrong about that, but they took all the players that shaved off the Bills. There was like 4 players on that team on the 96 Panthers expansion team.
And they made some noise right away.
Yeah.
And then what's funny is that the Jaguars expansion team, they made noise right away.
Yep.
Which is usually hard for an expansion team to come in and be good immediately. Like the Houston Texans were awful when they first became an expansion
Baltimore
team.
Ravens came from Cleveland.
But they weren't an expansion though.
They were a team, right.
But then the new Browns were the expansion.
But the Panthers were an actual team from free agency. But like I said, a lot of those players from that first year were ex-Bills players.
Yeah.
Frank Reich and Steve Tasker. There's a couple other ones I can't think of. Bryce Popp.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they were really trying to look for that team, that mold of team of winning.
Yeah, because they went to 4 Super Bowls straight, which no one's ever done.
So
they lost all 4.
They knew who to go for.
Yeah, they lost all 4, which is upsetting, but still, nobody's ever accomplished that feat. 4 straight Super Bowl appearances.
Yep.
So, what do you want? You want to end this up?
That's about almost 40 minutes. So
all right, guys. Football is back this Thursday.
What are we gonna do next
NFL
week?
season kicks off.
We got to pick a team for next week.
I want to do the Saints.
Okay.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
The Saints are super talented team, super interesting. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Saints next
week. Next week we'll do the Saints. Football's back. Make sure you guys are watching starting Thursday. And I just want to say God bless you and God bless America.